I hope I'm on the right account. Hey,
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good.
Good. Um,
There we go.
all right, can you hear me okay? You are breaking up a little bit.
Can
Okay,
you hear
I
me
see you
better
now.
now?
Yes.
Okay. I jumped off the Wi-Fi. I'm like in a really bad spot. I came upstairs to get away from my kids, and it's like the worst place for Wi-Fi. So I took it off the Wi-Fi.
I definitely understand. I guess for anyone that is coming in, if this is your first time, my name is Stephanie Jack, and this is the Rose Golden Hour live series. So every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central, we are creating intimate one on one experiences where we talk about literally anything and everything. My guests are either birth workers, moms, entrepreneurs, human beings that deserve the spotlight so that we can normalize things that we don't normally talk about. And this evening, I have Miss Erika Thompson with us. So, yeah,
Hey,
introduce yourself.
hey, I'm Erica, and I got in contact with you via Facebook, and someone who you were putting out something asking for moms, and somebody was like, "Oh, let me tag her." So, and we were able to have a great conversation not too long ago. But I live in Alabama. I do consider myself at times. I hate the term. I hate like labeling myself this, but I have acted as a doula in certain births, even though I've taken a break because I'm in my third pregnancy. Um, I am a mom of two, a boy and a girl. Let's see, what else? I don't know. There's so many different parts. We can sit here and talk all day, but I'm not really sure what else to say about myself.
What words would you use to describe yourself?
Ooh, oh goodness. Okay, so powerful would be at the top of that list. I think of myself as powerful. I hate the word like empowering because I feel like that is like gaining and losing. Consistently powerful, confident, beautiful, smart. Those would be at the top of the list on how I would describe myself.
I feel the same. I feel like
Yeah.
that's what I feel when I think of you.
Yeah.
Consistent, powerful. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. How would
You.
you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself? People have called me militant. I like that thought to where I am very loyal and very dedicated to the work that I do and the things that I feel. Um, I would say I try to be unwavering and I try to always be in my truth.
Yeah.
So
I
that's
tell
what
you, the those two words are definitely the vibe I got when we talked. I don't remember when it was like a month ago, I think, but
yeah.
definitely that for sure.
It's been almost 2 months since
God,
we
has
last
it?
talked.
Wow, time flies. Oh my God,
It
time
does.
flies.
You told me that you are a full-time research and development scientist. So what is that like and how does that impact your life?
So I like spent a lot of time in high school watching like CSI, and I wanted to be like a CSI agent, and so I went to school for forensic chemistry, and I was a toxicologist for 2.5 years, and I left because I just couldn't take it anymore working for where I was working, and some of the things I saw after I started having kids that were involving kids in the state system. And so I left and I went to research and development. And I actually work for a company that helps to develop products like pharmaceuticals, which is completely opposite from kind of like the things I believe in, the natural routes I take, because I really don't take medicine and things like that. Um, or do that. We don't do that much in least in my house, and I don't recommend it to other people if they come to me and ask me like different ways to treat certain things. But I like finding out how things work, and solving problems, I should say. And so that's kind of my job, is somebody comes in, has a product, wants to make it, tweak it to be the best it can be. And so in analytical work, that's kind of what I do, is run tests and figure out how you can make it better and what's wrong with it. Um,
Mm.
so that would be solving problems is kind of what I do on a daily basis. And I love it. Um, I do. I wake up, I say, in the past 2 years that I have worked at my current job, I maybe had 2 days where I woke up and was like, I do not feel like going. And one of those, I was like 38 weeks pregnant. I was just tired. So
Yeah.
I love what I do. I love what I do for a full time job, at least. I do.
That's amazing. That you are like one of the first people I've ever come across that does not feel like, I'm sorry. I
Oh,
have children
hey,
screaming in my
do
background.
not
It's
apologize.
my life.
'Cause I'm expecting some knocks on the door here soon. Like, you need to come out, mom. I do not
Yeah.
apologize for that.
Um, yeah, I was saying that you are one of the first people I've ever come across that enjoys the work that they do and knows that regardless of the workload or the length of the shift, what it is that you're doing is driving you and you feel good about it. So
Yeah. Well, I
kudos.
tell you what, it's a very it's a good thing to work for somebody who definitely understands the work life balance, because I had been in that position where I had been working for somebody who, it wasn't all that great.
Mhm.
And so it definitely helps to have someone who is like, I understand you're a mom first, go home. Or, that makes it so much easier.
For sure.
Definitely.
How long have you been doing birth work?
So my son is going to turn 4 next month. And I will say I did my training, my doula training last April, um, with Tracy Collins for the National Black Doula Association in Atlanta. And that was when, kind of like, when the pandemic first hit, and she was so sad she had to do it online. But that's when I did my training. So I guess that's when you would say I stepped into my role of like, okay, I'll be a doula, I'll do this. But I feel like since I got pregnant with my son and had him, I feel like I've been giving advice or helping to guide women through their journeys, the best way I can help, just be there
Yeah.
for assistance or just hold space for them. So it's been, I say, 3.5 years that I've taken that role for and helped people.
I resonate with that because I'm the type of person that feels like we live in a society where we have to have credentials and prove our worth, or prove why we deserve to live, and this and that. And I think that part of the things that we do as far as helping women and birthing people alike is the fact that this is our birthright. This is
Yeah.
something that our ancestors used to do when they didn't have credentials or a degree or this or that to do what we do, because it's all about the human experience. Um,
And I know you have, uh-oh, did you have something?
no, someone said that their son is turning 4 next month too.
Oh, yeah. It's a tough time to have
Is
a
the
December
source.
baby, I swear. Oh, she said December 4th.
No, her name is Mama is the source. I
Okay.
believe this is Shanae. I met her a few days ago because I'm a part of a doula collective called Maternity Journey, and we connected through there. So
Okay.
super excited.
I can't
Um,
see any of the comments, but when I go back later and look, I'm gonna look at these and go follow and, go down the rabbit hole of following people
exactly.
and adding them.
Let me see. So you started to talk about how you even got to Birmingham. So you started dating your husband, you got married, moved to Birmingham because of the jobs that you both got. So just tell me a little bit about your household dynamic.
So we met at college in Montgomery, and I'm originally from Ohio, but I came down because I got a scholarship to play volleyball at Alabama State. And so we met at Alabama State University, ASU, go Hornets. That's my little plug for them. But we met, and he got hired to be a teacher or student aide at the time, a teacher's aide at the time, and I got hired on in my internship. So we were like, let's pack up our stuff and go to Birmingham together. And we were here a year before we bought our first house. and then sold it and decided we were just gonna plant our roots and stay here. And so then we went ahead and bought another one, and I love it. Volleyball is what got me down to the South, but I'm never leaving. I love it down here so much that I have like forced my parents to come down. But
Wow.
throughout that process, we got married, had a few kids, and had bought some dogs, and have planted our roots here in Birmingham. I love it. I love being down here.
So you have your son's name is Cass,
Yes.
and you have a baby girl named Nori.
Yes. So Cass is, like I said, he's the one who's the 4 in December, and who I don't know. I don't know if we'll get into talking about my births, but Cass, my labors are, or my births are like super easy. My pregnancies are super easy, but Cass came into this world. Ooh, he was my baby. That's my firecracker. But he's like my quiet storm. He's super quiet and chill, but then when he gets going, he is like full on like Sag. He's full on Sag. And Nori, my daughter, she's 18 months. She's my Taurus baby. She came into the world full force, like water broke. Oh, here she comes.
Yeah.
And that is, I think we talked about that. She's a spitfire too. I've got my husband is very like quiet and like calm, cool, and collective. And I got a little bit more energy, and he'll say like, these kids are like, they look like me, but they are all you, because they are full of personality. I love my kids.
Yes.
And I have number 3 on the way.
Yes, you have a whole other baby on the
This
way.
it. To anybody watching who knows me, this is it. I know. I think when we talked before, I said that we wanted 4 or 5, but after this one, we that was something we covered when we were talking before. Was kind of like reevaluating what you want to do, and 3 is gonna be my magic number.
Okay, wonderful.
What
Because I
about you?
thought
Because
one
you
was
had your
my magic
2.
number, and then here came Gianna. So I'm just leaving it open for whatever. Because I feel like in both pregnancies, it was a lot of like, oh my God, why did I do this? Or how is this going to work? And then everything ends up figuring itself out. And I just wasted that year almost stressing. So
Yeah.
if somebody decides to show up in my womb, then it's like, okay, let's just keep it moving.
Okay, your power in words. It'll be there soon. You wish
Yeah.
for it. You spoke
Oh
it. Just
my God.
remember, we spoke it on November 18th. If somebody shows up in your womb, this is it.
How? And you know what? When my son, it was like I remember saying, well, you know what? If I get pregnant, it is what it is. I feel like I'll be covered. And then boom, I got pregnant. A few
Yeah.
days after that, I found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
Um, so talk to me about the differences you've experienced with having a daughter versus having a son.
So my first, well, Cass, with him being number 1, I could just focus on him. Um, I knew what I was having with Cass, so it wasn't really a huge surprise. I didn't want to know, but my husband did. Um, And with him, I just found, I mean, things came easy, but only challenges I really feel like I faced was with my parents. With my parents, we just have a total different way of doing things now, and that we'll get into that. But just having a different way of doing things with me having my first boy and my first child, and you feel like you should be asking all the questions, so you go to your parents for advice, and they had 2 sons, so they're trying to guide me, but I'm doing my own research, and that was just, I mean, that was probably like first baby jitters, not even just a boy. um but then having Nori, I didn't know what I was having. That pregnancy was very that was where I felt like I started like my spiritual journey. Like, okay, I have no idea what I'm having, but I'm just letting her guide me, and I'm just letting her lead me. And I did not know what I was having, but I remember on she was born on the 3rd, and on the 1st at like 10 p.m. I was so over it. I'm like, she should be here. I had already had one bout of like false labor where I thought my water had broke, or was leaking. And I wrote that night, I like laid down and wrote a letter, like, and I titled it to my daughter. I didn't know what I was having, but I just felt like an overwhelming feeling. My great grandmother had just passed away that day, or no, she had passed away the next morning, but I had felt it was a girl. And so that's where I really started like, okay, we're just going to let this happen and we're going to let go and fully surrender and just this baby is in charge and I'm not even going to worry about it. And that's kind of where she brought a peace over me where I feel like even with Cass, I was kind of like super high strung a little bit, but she even now like she's a firecracker, but she's also very like she's my chill baby. I have on my arm, my tattoos I have at the top. It's where the wild things are. Cass is my wild child, like period. He is my wild child. And Nori, even though she's a firecracker, she was a super calm baby, and so hers is the Jungle Book. It's Mowgli and in Baloo and they're chilling in water because I just feel like she was super chilled, like bare necessities. She's just a really calm, cool, collected person. And she brought that over me. And then, you know, kind of brought me into that spiritual realm of like, just let go and let it be, you know?
Mama
Whew.
Isadora says that's beautiful. She made her way into this realm for you.
Yes, she did. She did. I mean, Cass, my son, he is, you know, first babies are everything, but Nori being my first girl, she really brought that energy. That's why I think that's where we got the realm of feminine energy is like she brought that.
Yeah,
So
I resonate for sure
definitely,
because I think that I agree with the first time parent jitters that you will experience because it's like you don't know what you're doing and then you're trying to figure things out as a new parent and trying to
yeah,
sift your way through what other people want for you at the same time. And you are, it's been multiple women that I've been coming across lately who have been talking about how the birth of their daughter has transformed them in a lot of ways. And me personally, um, the situations that transpired into her birth, I felt like I didn't really realize the things that I wanted. I felt like I needed to realize until the postpartum, and then it was like I'm staring at a reincarnation of myself, and I can see so many different things in her eyes, and just the way that she is, the way that she's built, the way that she, you know, her voice. I sensed that I have a purpose that's beyond me in the
yeah,
selfishness, I think.
yeah,
And so
yeah.
the birth work came to me when I started going into self discovery and, you know, finding out things that I want to do to fill my cup. And then birth work just kind of hopped into my lap.
So
And
did you get into birth work in between your babies? It was
so,
after.
no, it was actually afterwards. So I was pregnant with my daughter and I was working for the union. So I was a union organizer for about 2 years. And so that final year, my entire pregnancy, I was going to deal with contracts. I was going doing protests. I was doing speeches. I've seen myself on YouTube doing like little handshakes and political things to get certain people elected and this and that. And I started to see where the things that I wanted to do as far as fighting for human rights, um, it wasn't put at the forefront anymore because now we're just worried about money. Now we're worried about the business and this and that. And so a lot of anger was inside of me during that pregnancy. And um, once she was born, I had felt defeat because I didn't have the birth that I wanted, but I felt like I'm doing everything for everybody but me. Like that was the
Yeah,
initial thought when I watched her be put on my chest and this and that. And so I created my own maternity leave. I pretty much just went ghost, got unemployment way before the pandemic, a few months before everything went to hell. And
yeah,
then, you know, over time, while I'm experiencing postpartum depression for the second time and I'm grappling with the anxiety I'm experiencing, trying to make sense of my life in this moment, um, I finally started feeling like, you know what, I want to do something new and I want to actually be authentic to myself and not um, change myself for somebody else. Because my hair, if you don't, a lot of people don't know, when I was pregnant with my daughter, I had locks. and I had locks when I was working. But for some reason, I started to feel insecure about my locks because people are like, "Oh, your hair is frizzy. Oh, you have twists. Oh, you know your hair is partially curly, partially that." Or how can you talk to me about my natural hair if you have locks? And I combed my hair out the last 2 months of my pregnancy.
Ooh,
It took a
blessed.
long time, but I refused to cut my hair. And I had my hair out. Once my daughter was here, my hair was, long, and I wanted to see the length and I wanted to see all this stuff. And then my hair wanted to lock back. And here I am because I felt like this is where I need to be. And I'm being as authentic to myself as I can possibly be. So I feel like the realm of feminine energy um, is here because your daughter, or what you would consider a daughter, you want them to live and be their most authentic self. And in that, you are doing what is best for you always.
It's good. It's cool that you touched on hair because I, growing up, always thought of like my hair is, it's got to be long. It's got to be feminine, you need to have long hair. And I never thought about having locks, but in January, I locked my hair and I just cut my hair 2 weeks ago. And I was like, I'm tired of my locks. I'm just ready for them to go. It hadn't even been a year, but my mom was like, Erica, are you sure you want to do that? You have never had short hair. And I was like, she was like, you used to cry when you would get your ends clipped. I said, my entire outlook on what it means to be feminine, what it means to be sexy, what it means to be a woman is now no longer entangled in my hair. I don't care about that anymore. And so my feminine energy doesn't come from that. I don't need my hair to be feminine, to be sexy, to be beautiful. I'm me and it's gonna go. And so I cut it off. I was like, it's gonna grow back. It's hair. I'm
And it's beautiful.
47 years old. It's gonna grow back.
Yeah,
As long as you are living in your comfortable stuff, it doesn't matter what your hair looks like. It doesn't
exactly.
matter. It doesn't
Um,
matter.
okay. So we talked also about life as a mom of three because you are a mom of three. So the dynamics and how things change as far as like your lifestyle, having to balance things. Talk about the ways that you have had to flow from one child to now three.
When I had Cass, I was working Sunday through Wednesday, and I was off Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I could balance rest, and I was at home with him 3 days, and he was only going to daycare for 3 days, and he was staying at home with my husband for one. It was all about him. I could focus on him, no worries. I could sleep. And even when I was just pregnant with him, I was like, I'm only working 4 days out of the week. I can sleep the other three. Ooh, when even when I was pregnant with Nori, it was like all hell broke loose for me as a mom. It was like I am pregnant, but I don't even remember. I remember some people asking me like, "How's your pregnancy going?" Thank God I'm not sick because I don't even remember I'm pregnant half the time because I am so focused on him. And I remember having a little bit of anxiety, like, what am I gonna do with two kids? So much anxiety that my husband, only wanting to ever be a football coach, he stopped coaching after I had her for a year. I was very grateful. But he was like, my anxiety was like, what am I gonna do with two kids? Like, I've got two hands. What am I gonna do with two kids? I can't split myself. Um, and so I think that's something all moms go through is like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna split myself in two to care for more than one child? Um, and so now I don't have that anxiety because I have found a way to kind of balance two. And I've also heard from people going from one to two is a lot harder from two to three because you already learn how to kind of like balance your time, balance your energy. And I think I told you this. I have just got to the point sometimes now where I tell Cass, like, you're asking for this. Nori needs this because she's younger than you. She needs this, especially when she was nursing. It's like mommy only has two hands right now. And I know you want this. But if you can't get it yourself right now, or if nobody's here, you're just gonna have to wait 5 minutes. You want a snack? You can't reach it. I know you can reach the fruit that's on the counter. You must be if you can't reach that fruit, you're not that hungry. Like mommy's only got two hands. I can only do so much, and that's kind of where I'm at. With going to three is I'll be okay because there's only so many hours in the day, and it's gonna get done. I'm gonna get done what I can get done. As for when Cass first came around, it was just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? It's constantly scrambling. And the level of anxiety I would feel of like, um, trying to be super mom.
Yeah.
You can't, we are all trying our hardest, but you can't be super mom. And I'm going to do what I can in the time I got. And my kids go to bed every night and I know that they've been fed. They know I love them. Um, and I feel like I have tried to meet all their needs, emotionally, mentally. And after that, I can't do much more after that. I've tried, I've done what I can, and there's no point in stressing, um, what you should have done, should have, I say should have, or what
Yeah.
you wanted to do. Hell, I only had 24 hours and I slept 8 of those. Like
Exactly.
you can only do so much.
Yeah.
So
I think
with this
that,
one coming along, I'm like, it's gonna be what it is.
yeah, for sure, it's gonna be exactly what it is. Because I think that I did the same thing. Because with Grayson, of course, it's gonna be one child, so that's your main focus. With Gianna, it was a lot of like terror. Like, um, I finally decided I'm gonna keep her. So now it's like, okay, what am I gonna do? And
Yeah.
then she got here, and it wasn't necessarily I felt like the flow between my relationship with the children wasn't the factor. I think it was like when I was pregnant with her towards the end, I was nesting so bad that like because my partner was working overnight, so he would come home and I would have like the headboard at the door ready to go to the dumpster. I had like bags of trash to go, and I was dusting and you know putting up have him help me put up cribs and just other things, and it was just like a lot of just stress. And I think it was because I'm so used to cooking, cleaning, doing all the things and working. So it was like
Yeah.
I broke down like I need you to like you're not going to be able to like make meals for me once I'm recovering in the postpartum. I'm thinking about the postpartum. And now I
Yeah.
know how to help moms now as a birth worker, because these are the conversations that I should have been having with my family and my in-laws, because instead of them coming in and visiting and trying to just, be in the space and do nothing, it's like, okay, these are ways that you can help. These are ways that you can get educated and edified on how to be the best type of support that I need. And I spent a lot of time grieving on the fact that my partner wasn't helping me in the way that I wanted him to, even though he could only do so much. Now, that versus now, I can see a huge change in how he was there and he was helping, and the stress is not there. So he's able to help me a lot more. And I don't even have to necessarily ask or anticipate. He's there to support me emotionally as well as with the kids too.
Yeah. And that's beautiful that you have that type of relationship and connection that you like. Sometimes I didn't even have to ask, but I think sometimes we have to touch on, as Black women, sometimes we don't want to ask for help. And I told myself that after I finished, with this baby, I think I wanted to focus a little bit more on postpartum care as far as my doula work, because it is so needed. Like, if for the people watching, just if you're gonna go and you want to hold the baby, cool, hold the baby, but hold the baby while the mom showers, or hold the baby while you help her fold clothes, or like do something, because ask for help. It is no shame asking for help. Like, uh if I'm coming over to your house after you have a baby, I'm bringing a meal and I'm bringing hands because I'm here to do dishes. Like, that's what people need after birth. I don't need you to hold the baby, especially if I'm breastfeeding. The baby is attached to me. And Black women, we need to ask for help, but also our Black supporters and our Black families and the people around us have to understand, like, the baby is going to be here, it's going to grow. I'm going to be able to hold it later, but the mom needs support right now. And that's beautiful that you and your partner had that connection where you, like, sometimes you didn't have to ask, but we also have to remember we got to open our mouths and ask, like, I need help. I need help. Like, and that, I think that's where also we can probably touch on. I mean, I know you get into postpartum depression, and there's so many other factors that go into it. But if we could just have some more hands and have some more help and like rally around and have community the way it should be done, I think we wouldn't have such an issue with postpartum if there was the support was there.
Yeah. I you're touching on something. I was just on Instagram in the story. I call people, and right now I'm real busy, but I'm trying to reach out to folks and hold them accountable because they watch my stories and they liked my recent post, which talked about this specific this specific topic. And so I would love to collaborate with you and any other birth workers that want to dive into the postpartum aspect in a new way, because you can even be solely a birth doula and you may not be interested in coming to the house and doing different things around the home, but you can prepare your client for the postpartum. So
Yeah.
let's get together, because I feel like
Yeah.
I became a union organizer for a reason, because I know how to make phone calls, I know how to network, I know how to knock on doors. I'm not afraid to use my voice when I know that that mission and what it is that needs to be done is right there. So
Yeah.
um
Yeah, we
some
get together and talk about it. We also got some other stuff to talk about when we with your womb wellness coming up.
oh
I'm
yeah, I
excited to
forgot.
hear all about it.
But
You got, hey,
now it's still an
you got a lot
idea.
going on.
It's still an
Well, let's
idea
keep talking about
that
it.
needs
It'll
to
come into
be.
fruition. Keep talking about it. Because
Huh?
when we talked before, we touched on kind of menstruation and um
Oh yeah.
health and feminine health and things, and I'm like, who I just get so frustrated thinking about that in the way the school system they set you up for failure and stuff. So we will get there. But I
Yes.
definitely I look forward to that happening. So I was just telling somebody about that today. Did you have a comment? Were you about to read something?
Yeah, I was about to read. I was literally looking at the notes because we do talk about menstrual cycles and sexual health in this live. But I wanted to read some comments that are kind of going pretty fast. Let me see.
Yeah,
Mama
yeah,
is,
yeah.
of course, says, I had to let that stigma go. I'm not trying to be super mommy. I'm going to be happy mommy and healthy mommy. Exactly.
Yes.
Let's see. Yes, postpartum care is so vital. Speak on it. That's Carter J.A.
Yes. My
Uh,
profile.
so yes, let me go back to the notes so I can stay on track, because we'll be talking
Hey,
about
we'll be
topic
here.
forever. Okay.
We're just flowing. No rush.
Yes, which is beautiful, because I feel like if we don't talk about everything, that just means that we need to do this again. So I'm definitely open.
I'm down.
Okay, so we talked about your current pregnancy and the fact that you're planning to have a home unassisted birth. And so just kind of talking about the dynamic of the midwives in Alabama, because I know here in Houston we only have three black three black midwives at a total of about 70 white midwives. And so what is the dynamic in your world and the choices that you're making around the birth that you are choosing to have?
So I'll go into a little bit, just kind of summarize on Cass and Nori, and then I will kind of talk about the state of Alabama right now a little bit. With Cass, I had an OB hospital birth. Fortunately, she tried to schedule me for an induction, and I was crazy enough to go along with it. But I woke up on the 20th and my water broke, and while I was getting ready for work. And so I showed it to the hospital. A few hours later, I showed it to the hospital and was like, I'm here. And they're like, okay. I just did my thing. And he came 7 hours after my water broke. Very, very quick, precipitous labors. And everything was well and good, normal postpartum, 6 weeks, go see him. But just that was like a factory. It's like get in, get out. There were times where I would go see my OB, and I mean, her nurse, I would sit in the waiting room for a half hour. Then I would sit in the room for another half hour. And then she would come in, the nurse would come in and talk to me for 15 minutes. And then she would come in and be like, hey, how you doing? And I'd be like, I'm great. Do you have any questions? Not today. Okay, see you later. Literally 5 minutes. I've been out here an hour and a half now, and you came and you talked to me for 5 minutes. Um, Now, I'm not saying OBs are like experts on everything parenthood, but there was really no conversation. It was not personable at all. And when I got pregnant with Nori, I just kind of went back for the same thing. And it was 24 weeks, I think, where I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm going to hire a home birth midwife. And I called a home birth midwife. And at that point, I had already paid like a lot of my birth up front. For Nori, me and my husband had already paid up front, because for us, it's easier to pay a little bit over time than to get a $10,000 bill afterwards or something like that. So we had paid so much, and it was like, I'm 24 weeks. And most people know you got to pay your home birth midwife by 36 weeks or something like that, depending on who they are. I got 12 weeks to pay her the full amount. It's not going to happen. So that just goes to touch on, and me and my husband both are working and we have decent jobs. I think that just goes to touch on we're a two income household, where we make decent money and we still couldn't afford really to do that. And that's no shame because it really is a truth. Like it's difficult to afford, out of pocket $5,000-6,000 in 12 weeks. That's 3 months. And so I was having a conversation with her. I loved her. And I won't use their names here because I did not use them. But if anybody has any questions about the midwives in Alabama, they can message me. She was a white midwife. I was fine with that. She's a lovely woman. And I was like, this isn't going to work. So I went ahead and in the process, I had asked her, like, who is your backup plan in the case of an emergency when I was interviewing her? And she said, well, Sheila Lopez, which was my midwife for Nori, so I will say her name, at Princeton Hospital, is my backup. That's who I go to. So I was like, you know what? Insurance. If I go to a hospital, I'm going to transfer care. I'm going to go to Sheila. And where Sheila was at Princeton, they have a amazing centering program where you don't really go to your appointments individually. You are with a group of women, especially at Princeton, a group of women that look like you and are you around your same due date. So you have a chance to bond with them, ask questions, share experiences when you're pregnant. And so that was my experience with a hospital midwife. No cervical checks, none of that. She was really personable. They spent hours with us every other week, I think it was. We're sitting in a circle, kumbaya, for two plus hours. I actually have a really good friend out of that group now, and our daughters just happen to be born on the same day. And so with Nori, my water broke. I went to the hospital. She was not there, but she came in to see me. And at my 6-week appointment, we had, my appointment wasn't 5 minutes where she was checking me and then, I'm out. We talked. How are you feeling? What's going on with you? Do you have support at home? How's breastfeeding going? All the things. And I absolutely love Sheila. But with Nori, my water broke at 5 p.m. while I was cooking dinner. And excuse me, I showed up to the hospital. I was like, I'm laboring at home. I'm hanging out. At 11:30, I told my husband, we need to go. Unless you want to have this baby in the car, we need to go. Now, mind you, it was 11:30. I got to the hospital about 15 minutes later, and I got up to the room, and they checked me. I gave them permission to check me. At the time, I had no cervical checks, and they said, you're 7 centimeters. I said, I need to pee. So I went to go pee. I came back, and I said, she's coming, or, the baby's coming. It was literally like 5 minutes. At 12:06, my daughter was born. So I was only at the hospital about 15-20 minutes before she came out. I literally told my husband afterwards, I'm not doing this shit again. I'm sorry for my language. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyways,
All
I'm not
good.
doing this again. I literally birthed my baby by myself on my hands and knees with a nurse in the room who just happened to catch her because I said she's coming. And I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like, if I can help it, I'm not coming back to the hospital. And if I deliver my own baby at home because I can't afford a midwife or, you know, I don't want a midwife, I feel like I can do this intuitively, that's what I'm going to do. I know unassisted home birth is completely off on the spectrum for some people, but for me, I listen to my body during pregnancy. I listen to my body during labor, especially with me laboring at home. For me to tell my husband 30 minutes, like I knew I was in transition. We need to go. Like we need to go. Listen to yourself during labor. For me, that is all I need. I don't look at birth as a emergency or a medical condition. It's a life event that happens. I'm along for the ride. The baby is in charge, and as long as I just sit back, relax, and let what's gonna be, I'm good. Like what my body knows what to do, my baby knows what to do, and so that is my kind of like the grounds for my decision behind deciding to have an unassisted birth. And I don't even, when people ask me kind of like, what are you going to do? I just say, even right now, I'm not even really sure. Like, I woke up the other day and was like, I'm going to go to my appointment for the first time in 12 weeks. And I went, and she was like, are you coming to the hospital or are you going to stay home? And I was like, nah, I don't really know. I don't know. I'm going to do what feels good. I'm going to do what I need to do in that moment. I'm going to
Yeah,
follow my intuition. I can say I'm going to have an unassisted birth, but if in the moment I feel like my baby needs it, I'm going to go to the hospital, because that's
exactly.
where emergencies happen, Um, so, I mean, I have yet to hire a home birth midwife. I have one in my back pocket. I really want to have, and we can move into the state of Alabama. Right now, Alabama does not have any Black home birth midwives. And we have one we have two students that I know of that are Black student midwives and I know who they're working under. And if you have any questions about them and you're in Alabama and you're looking for someone in the Birmingham area or the outside of Birmingham, let me know and I can let you know where they are. They're two wonderful women. Um, I have connected with both of them on social media and had conversations with both of them, and they're good people. They do good work. Um, they both were doulas, are doulas, and it's unfortunate. I mean, when you talk about our roots in midwifery and the history of the Black midwife, it is our ancestral. It dates back to slavery when we weren't allowed in hospitals or we had to deliver our own babies. Um, it goes back to that, and to take it and to put. We talked about this earlier. Is like, just because you don't have the experience or just because you don't have the licensure does not mean you do not have the experience to qualify you for this. And I know that's dangerous to say because anybody can just walk around and say, "Oh, I deliver babies," but I mean, you deliver your baby first off, but the state governing who is a midwife based on what test you pass or how many hours you've done. No disrespect to any midwife that has gone through that, because you work hard for your title, you work hard for your licensure. I respect that. But it's so unfortunate that the government can just take away what is in your lineage and is your birthright, and put a license number on it and say, okay, you're good now. And then put standards around, kind of your birth, like no VBACs, no this, no that. It's like, oh, it is so unfortunate when the government starts twiddling their hands in women's uterus. But ooh, I said a mouthful, so you take it from here
Yeah.
because we're gonna go forever. We're gonna go
Ah,
forever. Oh,
I'm just gonna hop into the comment section because
okay.
it popped up. I see a lot of family of mine. I see a lot of people that love you. You got it. Your
That's
body knows
beautiful.
what to
Thank you for your
do.
support.
My wife is the bomb.com. Isn't that sweet? Um, she surely
Thankful.
is. I had the same experience with my OB, but when I switch doctors that have a more holistic approach, they care more. You feel seen, and that's so important. I agree.
Yes.
Um, I absolutely love the space that you both are creating. These conversations absolutely need to be heard, or absolutely need to be had within our community. Congratulations, Erica. And I agree with Mr. Crawford. You are bomb.com. Let's see. Absolutely, you can do it. We are made for this. I love this. Right. Our bodies were constructed for birth. It's a spiritual experience for mommy and baby. Releasing and trusting. Such a beautiful testimony.
I just can
Maternity.
we pause there and touch
Yeah,
on that? Like, birth is a spiritual experience, and
it is.
just the only thing I will say is I take my birth space serious. Like, to the point where I have no problem asking somebody to leave. I have no problem asking my husband to tell somebody to leave. My mother wants to be at this birth, but she is not okay with unassisted birth. And I said, that's fine. And I want you to be here. But if you're going to be nervous, you can't be here in my space. Like, if you're going to be scared, I don't need that energy around. Like,
Exactly.
I told her with my last baby, she kept asking me, when are you going to go to the hospital? When are you going to the hospital? Mom, I'm going to stop answering your phone calls if you like ask me that again, because I know what I need to do. And so I just want to just touch on that, is like, you are in charge. Even in the hospital, you are in charge, and you can have anybody. If a nurse is not doing the right thing for you, if her energy is off, have her leave the room. Send somebody. And that goes back to have a doula to speak for you, because in transition or in active labor, you can't do it for yourself. Sometimes you don't feel comfortable saying those things. If you don't have a partner, prep him or her on that. But your space and the energy that you have and that your baby is coming earthside into is so important. So just keep that in mind, that you are in charge of everything around you and the energy that you have there. And it, because you can't get that back. You can't get that experience back. You can always have another baby, but you cannot get those experiences back.
Yeah. I felt a few things because as far as my mom, I made that decision 2 times to have her in the room. And it was, yeah. And I thought it was going to be different the second time around. And I think that it's because I was not prepared. My support team was not prepared at all. So things just went how they went. My confidence in what I wanted increased a little bit, but both times I felt defeat because I didn't feel that I had the control in the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, so many of my clients, so many people just in general that are birthing do not realize the power that they possess, because I will do a birth planning session with them and they will still go into the hospital space and feel like, okay, or okay, I'm just gonna go with what they
Yeah.
said, all right, because you don't know, you're
Yeah.
conditioned to think that doctors and nurses are going to do what's best for you. But then you have situations like Shasia, or the recent lady that was killed. And we have
Mm.
these situations where you don't have the support and you don't have the education or whatever the case, because it doesn't even matter if you have a degree, it doesn't matter if you have money or not, you're still dying, and these are women of color. And I think that
Yeah.
it's very apparent the difference, whether you feel safe or not, because the fact that we have to force birth to even happen in this space, then it's like, oh, birth is happening, now we got to stop it, and then you're going through all these interventions when you could just have your baby safely at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
um
And I fully, we are fully aware, like you say, me and you are kind of on the same page here with the things that we like and the things, the natural route. But that is not to say, I just helped somebody recently with a birth plan. And she is like, I want an epidural. And I'm like, cool, that's your thing. I'm going to tell you now, if you walk in there and you ask for Pitocin and then 5 minutes later you're asking for epidural, you're telling your body to do two different things. Let's just talk about this for a second so you understand. And then I'm telling her husband, make sure, so there's education around every type of birth. You don't have to walk in no place and say, I want to have a natural birth. Or I want to have, I'm not going to say natural because all birth is natural, unmedicated vaginal birth. But just understanding all of your rights and that you are in charge. The doctor at the end of the day works for you. The nurses work for you. And if you don't like something, if it don't sit right with you, get out. Like, I have no problem with that, and no problem, they can't respect your space, anything. If it's not for you, it's not for you. They got to go.
exactly. Maternity Journey asks, isn't Dr. Midwife Stephanie Mitchell in Alabama? She has a birth sanctuary in Gainesville, which I'm assuming is West Alabama, because she has like a hashtag West Alabama on this page. And her Instagram is Dr. Midwife. Have you ever heard of her?
No, I feel like I've heard the name before, Stephanie Mitchell. However, my reference to no Black midwives, I believe, I thought I said home birth midwives, but I'm not sure. There
Mm,
are no Black home birth
home
midwives
birth.
in
Oh,
Alabama. So if you have midwifery or midwives in hospitals right now,
yeah, she's a
which I believe, and
CM.
I'm not familiar with, I'm not familiar with all the areas in Alabama, but for home birth midwives, there are no Black home birth midwives in Alabama right now.
Got you.
So yeah.
Let's see. God slash the universe qualified you when you were called to it. Um, do either of you ladies know how we can obtain our birthing package? Having control over our children's social security numbers. That is a good question.
If you birth in a hospital, you mean? Like what it like as in getting that information when after you have a baby at home?
I'm
Is that the
assuming,
question?
but maybe she's talking about is it maybe because I've seen posts where people are talking about the truth behind social security numbers and I'm sorry, I'm reading because
No,
it's
no,
so
no. Go ahead.
popping up.
I was just gonna say I'm not
I have
I'm
no
not
idea
sure about that, but I'm
who's
sure
sending this
once
to
the
us.
hospital generates it because it comes to you from Social Security, there's probably no way to ever get it back. Um,
Mm,
I mean, the only thing I would say is the best, and I'm not a professional in this. My opinion or my thoughts would be the only way to refrain from having a Social Security or being wrapped up in that is to not get it. But then you take the risk of your children possibly never being able to travel certain places.
hmm. Yeah.
So just remember that.
I will look into this and give a response because I don't want to just leave it
Yeah.
at, I don't know.
Yeah. So Social Security, the question was, how do you go about getting your Social Security package and your birth
Yeah.
certificate? Is that what it was?
Yes. Having a doula made to get into gear for having a doula made to get into gear for my spiritual birth. I was already on that path, but it's full force now. I resonate with that. That's Carter J.A. Um,
Yeah.
let's see. The narrative that they know better than your own intuition is out of control. Definitely. So out of control. We have to start respecting our intuition so that they will. Um
My mother, just to touch on that, she says,
mhm.
Erica, go to the doctor. How do you know if the baby's okay? Mom, the baby's okay because my belly's getting big. I'm not bleeding. Who is going to tell me? My comment to her was, who is going to tell me about my body? Who knows my body better than I do? No one. No one knows your body and what you feel better than. And that goes to, don't let them tell you about yourself, but that also goes back to, if you do not feel well, because that's how Black women are dying, is going up. A lot of Black women are dying going undiagnosed or not taken seriously. They're not, when preeclampsia shows up or not, I don't feel well. That's how that happens a lot of times. And speaking up and standing firm when you don't feel well.
um let's see. She's talking about birthing in the hospital. I will send you both what I'm referring to. I think she's
Okay.
referring to once you have it, how to work around it. There's ways. Follow my girl, Well Down Bibbs. I will
Okay.
put
I'm gonna go
her
back to these
in
comments
the
and look.
description because I always feature everyone's Instagram names. Whoever is mentioned, I include them
Okay.
for reference. Let's see. Okay, that was everything. Let me go to our notes.
It is cold
Okay.
up here. I'm gonna turn
Since
the
we
heat on.
are talking about the realm of feminine energy, I believe it's only right to talk about menstrual cycles, sexual health, and education. So, when did you first learn about your cycle? How old were you?
Oh, you know what? I don't think anybody ever sat down and was like, this is what happens when your cycle comes. I don't think anybody ever did that. I was, I don't even remember how old. I think in like sixth or seventh grade, maybe younger. I was in a basketball tournament with my dad. My dad never took me. He went to basketball tournaments, but I never went without my mom. And this is the very first one I was on without my mom. And I went to the bathroom and it was like, there it is. And I he I think he dropped a tear, like, oh shit, this is really happening. And as you think about it, as crossing into your womanhood, and I went home and told my mom and grandmother, and they gave me hugs, and that's it. There was no conversation behind it. And I know we cannot depend on our school systems to do everything for our children, but I do believe in health was the very first time that I learned about it. But you don't learn anything in depth, and they still don't. It's just, it's kind of unfortunate. I mean, you can get into I think of my menstrual completely different now compared to how I did then. I mean, what are your thoughts on it? I just
Um, what are my thoughts on what specifically? Is this a lot?
that's why I'm like, I don't even know where to go with this. I just what are completely different on my about my menstrual cycle. When I first learned my menstrual cycle, it was a pain in my ass. It was a pain. Am I cursing too much? I'm like,
No,
I don't even think about it.
this is free
I
space. If anybody's uncomfortable with cursing,
I
this is not
apologize.
the space for you. Um,
um I just thought of my menstrual cycle as a pain. Like, why is it here? is the pain. And I almost remember like my dad a lot of times, it wasn't shame. I don't think he ever meant, my dad is amazing. I never think he meant to shame, but it was like if there was a pad wrapper in the trash can, Erica, take this shit outside. Don't nobody want to see
Mm.
this. And there was no like celebration behind it. No, it was just there. And I tried my best to hide it when I could.
Mm.
Now it's completely different. And I cannot wait for my daughter to start her cycle one day so we can celebrate the whole day. I can take her out of school. We can make it a special day and embrace it, because I truly feel like, and I hope you touch on this. We got to talk about this when we get ready to talk about your womb wellness. But the outlook you have on your cycle, I feel like the mind is so strong. And if you change the way you look at it, your menstrual cycle, learning your body and your outlook on your menses when it comes, completely different. Like no cramping, no, none of this, none of that. Like instead of thinking as your menses as, damn, it's here and now I'm gonna be cramping, I'm gonna be laid up, I don't want to do nothing. I am so grateful for my cycle. It's here. It no longer serves me. It's leaving, and 3 days later, it's gone. I mean, I just,
Um, Before I share anything, because I see some people responding their experiences with their menstrual cycle. I
oh
remember
yes,
that I was 10 and my mom and god sister went into full detail explaining everything, how your emotions change, how your body changes, why it's an important time for womanhood. Kudos to you, queen.
yes.
Um, New Rising says, mama tried, she got us little books and magazines, but honestly that did not help much. LMAO, yes. um, we don't celebrate our womanhood because we were taught to fear it due to past experiences, but my mom opened the door for questions and understanding. She didn't make me feel like it was a burden, um but an experience meant to be had. It's cleansing, a spiritual cleanse. My
Yes.
dad was the one who told me about mine. That was a maternity journey. That's very interesting.
Wow.
My
Yeah.
learning about my menstrual cycle, I believe I was 10 years old as well. I have always been younger than my peers in class, so I was 10. So you would think I would be in the 5th grade. I was in 6th grade. And so when I got my cycle, the only real just memory I have is just seeing my stained underwear. It wasn't just like a huge stain. It was like I was taking it to my granny and my mom to kind of check to make sure that that's what that was, when obviously it couldn't have been anything else. And then, of course, in school, which is very similar to another thing that I learned that I will share at a later time. It impacted me so much to learn about just sexual health, or just how menstruation occurs, and ovulation, and this and that. And they talked about it in
Hmm.
such scientific terms. I wanted to bring that information home to share with my mom, and she was dating someone at the time. I consider him my ex stepdad. So she was dating him at the time. I was so like just talking about the science aspect of it, and it was like, no, you don't talk to any man about that. You don't talk to anyone about this. And so it was just like I never brought it up again, and then just kind of went into that common conversation where it's like, I feel pain, or I don't really know what to do with this, or my grandma on my dad's side has always had horrible cycles and this and that, and it just
Hmm.
never got better. It wasn't until I found Earth Mama Medicine, Valadia Chapman. She has a YouTube channel, and at the time I was watching her videos because she was talking about having a peaceful menstruation and what that process was, and what Yoni steaming is, and how to do it at home, and all these different things. And I started to Yoni steam, and I started to see a difference, even though my diet was and still is trash to a certain extent. I felt a difference physically because I was consistent with it, and my cycles were so much lighter. And I don't necessarily feel negative about my cycle. I appreciate my ability to bleed and all the things that come with that, because I feel like religions, all kind of stuff you will hear in movies and stuff, talking about Eve and all this bullshit about us essentially having this sin that we're carrying from this woman. And I'm like, wow, okay, this is what we're ingraining in ourselves, that we tempted a man and this bullshit here. But
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
the embracing it, like you say, when it comes, is I'm not my feeling is no longer, oh my God, this is a pain. It's I'm embracing it and I'm releasing what no longer serves me. I'm grateful you're here and you served your purpose. Like you say, the spiritual aspect behind it. And I think at the same time that the schools need to go into more depth behind menstrual health, they need to go into more depth behind sexual health. That is what your mentees is there for. That is if you want to get into the science behind it, that is what your mentees is for. It's releasing what was not fertilized. And when a girl gets her period, you think, okay, she's fertile now. When really she was fertile the month before. You weren't telling her not to have sex then, but anyways. But so you think like, okay, she's got her period now. And I'm pretty sure that's why the teardrop from my dad is, okay, now we gotta worry about sex because now she can get pregnant because now she's got her cycle. And instead of actually understanding there are 3 days, really, maybe a little more in the month that a woman can get pregnant. I'm very surprised, and this is no shame because it took a long time for me to learn this, but I'm very surprised at the amount of women that and girls and the education behind when you talk about I want to have a baby, but you don't necessarily know how to go about it. And the cycle of ovulating and checking, understanding your cervix for cervical position and understand cervical mucus. The shame also behind, bleeding you have behind discharge. And so, I mean, there really needs to be, I wish there were, and that may be, my mom says, you missed your calling. Like, I didn't miss it yet. I just got other shit going on. I cannot get into this right now. And I thought about maybe finding a way to have a class or something where we can sit down and educate women on like, okay, just because you have sex does not mean you're going to get pregnant. It just means that you had sex. You should always protect yourself, but really the moon and the stars have to align for you to get pregnant and for you to conceive. And a lot of that goes into, do you know when you ovulate? I told you with this last baby, me and my husband had decided we were going to have another baby. We were ready. And this is the first baby that we had tried for. And I got pregnant my second month. The first month, it was like, we just kind of like bullshitted the whole thing. But I told him that day, I texted him, I'm ovulating today. And then I know I'm ovulating today. And then I literally felt my egg release. I felt it. I felt ovulation occur. And like understanding if you can get really in tune with your body, and that starts with your menstrual cycle, you can plan all of this and embrace it as the woman you are. So, I mean,
let me see, because maternity journey came out of the woodwork with something very interesting, because she said that her
yeah.
father was the one that talked to her about her menstrual cycle. She says that he gave me books, videos, and little packs for my period. My mom really didn't discuss it with me much at all. And I would say that it's beautiful that your dad took the initiative. And it's very common that moms won't necessarily talk to you about things. It has to be that they felt the need to talk to you. And it's very beautiful that some of us do have moms that did sit down and talk with us.
Yeah,
Our
that is
community
amazing for him to do that.
our community loves to hush things that should be shared. This is how you learn. What drives me crazy is the fact that so many of our parents did all these natural things for their Yoni during that time, but didn't pass it down to us. Okay. That's really refreshing to hear that you ladies can recall these moments. I have very little memory of receiving a bag from health class. I did too. But when it came, I was on my own and scared to talk about it. That's why now I grind so hard to know the proper knowledge to now share with my daughter. When you know better, you absolutely do better.
Yes.
So many try to make us feel dirty for having a period, but we can see commercials about men and their penis. Exactly. If your ancestors don't want you to conceive with that partner along with the moon and stars, it ain't happening. I agree.
Okay.
I agree. Somebody spoke about yes, a class will be great. Dacuria. So
Sorry.
as Erika mentioned, I am working on it's going to happen sometime in 2021. I want to do a Yoni steaming and womb wellness class, and I want it to be a workshop that is virtual, and I want it to be different than just listening to someone talking. I want it to be interactive in many ways. And so I know so many different women that have specialties in postpartum in yoni steaming, in meal prep, in, you know, self-care. It's so many different ideas and ways that we can dive into the yoni. And so I want it to be where, you know, we do guided meditations and journaling, or we're doing you know, sound baths, or we're talking about sex, or we're actually going in depth on things that we wanted to learn about when we were teenagers or young kids experiencing menstruation. I want this to be a space for a child that's 10 years old. I want
I
a
was
woman
gonna
that is
ask.
experiencing menopausal symptoms. I want our day-to-day women that feel negatively about their menstrual cycles. I want it to be a huge thing, because I used to do this thing in high school. It was called Pink Defying Gravity. I don't know if they still do it now, but they used to do this full day workshop solely for girls of all ages. There would be young girls in elementary all the way to high school, college. They would come together, and you would either be teaching a class or you would be, you know, watching a class. And so I specifically talked about, I believe I was a crisis intervention counselor. I used to volunteer and help people because we had crisis intervention or whatever in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to teach about suicide prevention and awareness and things like that. And in every single class, you were learning something new. So I want the yoni steaming and womb wellness to be not just me teaching. I want other women to be a part of it and interact as well. So, yeah, if anyone is interested in that, definitely DM me, comment below. If you want to be a part of it, to teach, bring something new. Oh, and the other part of it is that a lot of my friends have black owned businesses. They have products. So if you have something that
That's
is
awesome.
catered to self-care and womb wellness and women in general, I would like to feature that into the full workshop. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily worried about money. Of course, this is going to be something that's like donation based, and you can contribute to the cause, and, you know, maybe we'll give things to young girls and this and that. But I feel like a conversation needs to be had. I'm not necessarily worried about the money part. Like I'm really just doing this from the love aspect. So if anybody's
Yep.
interested in that, definitely hit me up.
We need to talk more about this when we're offline so we
Yeah,
can, because you know how I feel about, womb health and menstrual and menses and understanding that. And so I just really, I would love to be a part of that. And I'm glad you touched on the age, because that was going to be my question. I think it's so important to not only embrace the women who currently have it, but catch the girls who, before this
mm-hmm.
happened, so they can understand it and embrace it the way it should be embraced. And so I'm glad you said everybody from 10 to, you don't have a cycle yet, you just want your daughter to get in here because you don't know how to talk to her about it, but you want to learn about yoni steaming, you want to learn about yoni health and womb wellness, and all the way up to I am saying so long to this, and I'm going through menopause right now, and I want to find a way to embrace it and use herbs to, you know, soothe some of these symptoms I feel. So I look forward to that, and I definitely want to connect with you so we can get some ideas together, and some people, because I got a few people that I'm thinking of that they would love to do this. I know a few people off the top of
Yeah.
my head right now.
I know, me too. I got so many different
So,
people. I'm like,
and it's good, and
here it is right here.
it sucks. It really sucks that a lot of this you can't get the personal aspect of because of the state of the world we're in right now with virtual. But you're in Houston. You're in Texas. Are you still in Houston right now?
Yeah, I am.
And I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. And the person I know that would be awesome for this womb health is in Huntsville, Alabama. And I mean, people are all over the place, and it sucks that we have to resort for everything to be virtual, but that is going to be the benefit. And it is, you don't have to worry about buying plane tickets because we're right here.
You don't. I would say I would challenge that, because if you want it to be interactive, you can literally take this and do it in person. Like, you can go to a park, you can go to a garden. I have a community garden. I would love to teach women and have space there. It's so many different ways that you can make it in person, where people are worried about the virus and it's sitting on your doorknob, and you can still contract it with the mask and whatever
Yeah.
y'all about this virus. But um you know, I feel like if you are open to going outside and, you know, connecting with people and social distancing at the same time, of course, you can
Yeah.
still do it in person.
In a group in your city.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Let's see. It's still going. It's like 7:10 right now. Um, the last few things that we had on here was family history, outside views of your relationships, and when did you learn about sex? Let me see if it was anything else. Yeah, that was it. Because from
Yeah.
menstruation, it was like, what did you learn about sex? Like, when did you have conversation or decide to figure things out on your own when it came to sex?
No one talked to me about sex, which I just found really funny because I'm the oldest of two boys. I know we talked about kind of like our families. I'm the oldest of two boys, and so my younger brothers, one is a year and 10 months younger than me, and the other one is 5 years younger than me. I'm pretty sure they had a sex talk before I did. I don't think my mother ever talked to me about sex. I did openly go to her and tell her when I was actively having sex, and she was like, "Okay, cool. You want birth control? I'll take you down here. You can get a shot. You can get a pill, whatever. Don't get the pill because your dad might see it." There was really no conversation behind it, but I my husband will tell me, "You can talk to your parents about anything." I can now. I will openly talk to my dad about sex now, and he will tell me, "You could always talk to me." No one ever sat me down and said,
Mm,
"Here's what happens. Here's the process. Here's how you should think about sex." Because, like I said, um, sex is how babies are made. That's the function behind it. But it is also should be pleasurable. It's enjoyable. It is definitely a spiritual connection. If you have sex with whoever you want to have sex with, but it's also a spiritual connection behind it. And I hope one day for my daughter and son, but I'm gonna give that to my husband a little bit. I'm gonna also open the door, but I'm gonna give that to my husband a little bit. But I hope one day for my daughter, I can let her know, like, there's really no shame behind sexuality, and there's giving you the tools instead of don't have sex, girl. That's how you're gonna get pregnant. It is like, okay, you want to have sex? Here's how we can do this safely. Here's let's talk about this for a little bit. Why do you feel the need to have sex? What do you feel behind it? What is your goal? Like, why do you want to do this? Is this who you want to do this with? And just actually having an open conversation. I told my mom I was having sex. She never even asked me who. She never even asked me what my feelings behind it. She never asked me anything. She was just like, "You having sex? Let's go down to Planned Parenthood. You want to be a big girl? Let's get you some birth control.
mm.
Let's not
I
even talk about STDs. Let's just talk
uh,
about the birth control." Yeah.
yeah. The of course there was never conversation. There was assumptions, lots of assumptions from my mother and my father about
Yeah.
what was occurring and what was not occurring. And yeah, as a kid, you just pretty much figure it out. I don't know if anyone's like me where you kind of went to school and everybody was talking about things. It didn't have to be about sex. It could be literally any lingo, and you just had to figure out what somebody was talking about years down the road because you had to act like you knew, like you were in on the lingo.
Hmm.
And I just never knew. They didn't have Urban Dictionary, in the 2000, 1999, all that. It wasn't any of that. So I feel like um as far as sexuality, it's always been a negative aspect. And it will be things as far as like me currently, it's just like, oh, if your kids, if you have sex and this and that, your kids are gonna go to hell, or anything that you do is connected to just negativity. So if you can imagine somebody with that thought process having a sexual interaction, there is a lot of holding back. It's a lot of like, oh, we shouldn't be doing this, or you're a
Yeah.
hard person because you're tainting me and my body and this bullshit here. So it's just like a lot of anxieties came with that, because of course I did eventually end up having children, but I didn't necessarily enjoy sex until my 20s.
Yeah.
I was having sex when I was I started when I was about 17, but the dynamics and the things that I enjoy and feel and get to express are vastly different because of the fact that I had to learn things on my own. And no one was ever just really open with me unless it was like a friend, but even then no one was really having real genuine conversation.
Real conversation behind sex and the pleasure that you can have behind it. I mean, the function is there, but it is not, and I'm talking to ladies here, it is not about just the man is going to get his regardless. Like, cool, but there are so many women out there that don't orgasm. Do you know that? I was appalled. Like, I'm trying to think of how old I was when I first started having sex. I can't remember the exact age. I know what grade I was in, like getting ready to go into high school. But I'm pretty sure I went all throughout high school and never had an orgasm, because it's just like, okay, this is just a function. You do it and penetration feels good, but there's also a climax you can hit behind this. And you should. You should. Every time,
Yeah.
like
Yeah. You find a difference, and when you
every
figure out
time.
the difference, you're like, oh my God.
And and now I have started, and just like I said, when my daughter came over me, it was like that feminine energy of, not only should you be having an orgasm, but you should be using it to manifest what you want
Mm,
mentally. Say it out loud or think it during your orgasm. Use your womb to find power. Use your womb to and embrace that orgasm and find the pleasure. Use the pleasure. Let the force be with you. You know, like it
yeah.
is.
Something interesting came to me from you talking. So I forgot that I watched. So I bring up Earth Mama Medicine again.
I
Um,
wrote her down. I'm gonna watch later.
yeah. She has a video where she's talking with her partner Matt, and they're talking about like toys, sex, all these different things, and she shares her experience as an adolescent, as a teenager, and her mom buying her a toy. I don't know what age this
Wow.
was, but she gave it to her, and because she kind of, I guess she got the sense of the fact that, you know, you're gonna be doing things anyway, you know, use this to experiment. And
Yeah.
of course, you would initially think like, oh my God, they're gonna take it to school and they're gonna do all these different things, and it's sad, but I'm like, that's pretty cool to have that open space with your child. And of course, I guess it would be a bit taboo because we're coming from households that are like, you are not supposed to have sex in my house. You're supposed to do, you know, do this, and this. But if we're actually being free individuals, so we got to step out of that mindset to have this conversation. So if we're thinking about being free, because if you're, mind you, we all exist because somebody had sex, right? So
Right.
if you're gonna have it, if you're gonna, you know, have that connection with someone, you gotta at least enjoy it. Unless, you know, you're just gonna be laying there or just in those positions, and you know, only one person or no one is enjoying anything. Because
Yeah.
you know, it's so many different ways that it can go. But I would like to think that, you know, I would want to enjoy the sensations or understand the connections that you can have with an individual. It doesn't have to be a man. It's whatever. I feel like it's a lot that goes into that. And yeah, that
I
openness, I
mean,
think
you can't get
uh,
time back.
that's
You can't
very refreshing.
undo. You can't get time back. You can't undo these spiritual connections that you make. You can't undo these physical connections. Like when you have sex with somebody, you've done it. Like you say, why are we wasting time and space here? Let's enjoy it. Both of us.
Exactly.
Both of us.
It's
And say what you want. Figure that her mother giving her that her first sex toy and giving her a chance to explore herself. Probably I'm gonna watch this woman, and I am going I can't wait. But imagine what that does for someone to say, here, take this, go explore and figure out what you like. Because you can't expect someone to do something for you or to get you to a place where you're in pleasurable if you can't do it for yourself or verbalize. And so saying, I like this, you need to do this way so that I can feel good, because that's why we're both here. But women don't reach, a lot of women don't orgasm because they don't know how, because they don't know how to do it for themselves. You
mm-hmm.
can't masturbate or please yourself. You can't expect him to do it for you or another woman to do it for you, whoever you are having intercourse with. And
Exactly.
so that is some powerful stuff that her
It
mother
is.
gave her that space to like, here, go figure it out. Find what you like.
Yes. Carter JA says, my mom allowed me to lose my virginity in her house. She wanted us to be safe and in an environment that felt safe. I don't know anyone that can say that.
Yeah, I don't
Kudos
know many
to you.
people. That is,
Yeah,
yes.
that's amazing. I don't know what I'm going to do or what type of environment I will have for my kids, but I feel down with allowing them to have a safe space instead of it just being like, go out in the streets and do what you will and hope for the best and
Yeah.
whatever.
And
But
embracing, I hope that I can find a way to, like, embrace, I shouldn't say I hope, I plan to embrace the sexual talk, sexual
Mhm.
experimentation and things before. Like, I don't want to be the afterthought of like, oh, you had sex, let's talk about this now. It's like, let me beat you to the punch here, and let's sit down and talk about this before you do it, you know?
Yes, and that brings the dynamic where I had seen like a video of this woman. I don't want to assume what culture she's from or whatever, but she talked about the fact that women in her culture are clothed up. They're, they keep things hidden and this and that, and this is why you create. And then the camera panned to a whole bunch of men that were just like full of lust, and there was like this just overwhelm of just wanting to have that as a pleasure or whatever because of the unseen, the fact that you don't know what a body looks like, or you want to be able to control a woman and this and that. And so that idea makes me question the fact that we don't have conversations, or we threaten, or we have anger or whatever around sexuality. And so that's where you get choices that are made as far as like going to go figure things out on their own, or being so sexual, or being using things in the negative as well as the positive.
Yeah.
So because I don't want to judge anyone, but I think that a lot of people that experience um or they do things that are like harassment or whatever the case, it's because there is a habitual like wanting to know about this aspect that just wasn't shown. So it's like
Yeah.
the fact that we wear bras and we're not free as human beings to have our breasts, or being able to see like, oh, I see her nips, she's a freak, or this or that
Yeah.
type bullshit. So it's like, oh, she's a sexual being, but it's like, no, I just want to be free, or this is actually making my breasts droop more because I'm wearing a bra, or just whatever. It's a whole spectrum. And I think that part of it comes from things being sexualized for commercialization and for money. This is what we're going to use sexuality for. Anyone else that's not doing this is a horrible person.
Yeah.
Um,
We can use the woman's body for sexualization to sell, but we
exactly,
can't allow her to embrace her sexuality because, oh my
exactly.
God, she
So it's
nasty.
like if you never saw your mom, so I would just say like if you never saw your mom, and it's not that you had to see her naked or anything. Like me, I saw my mom and my grandma just nude, and just in like getting dressed or taking a bath or this and that. Does that create someone that is just like tarnished or crazy in the mind? Whereas you could be around someone that's completely closed up or whatever the case, and then you're extremely wondering about the truth because everyone keeps it away from you. So, yeah, everything is extremely sexualized. I agree. I
Yeah.
think that that is something that we need to dive deeper in, of course. Um I actually have to go because today is my baby sister's birthday. Her name is Skylar. She turned
Happy
5.
birthday.
Yes, she is beautiful. She's my sissy, and I hope one day she comes across this video when it's time for her. Divine timing aligns, and um, yeah, I want to appreciate you for taking the time out to be here and share space with me and dive into the realm of feminine energy. I know that this is only going to be the beginning from here, because we're going to continue this conversation. And I want you to be a part of the Yoni Steaming and Womb Wellness 101 workshop that I'm planning on doing in 2021.
I love what you're doing, and
Thank you.
I don't thank me. You provided the space and the opportunity. I'm grateful to come in contact with you. I do not remember who tagged me in your post and you messaging me, but I'm grateful for them. And I look forward to what's to come, the next conversations that we have. I know you got a lot going on, and we'll connect after the holidays, but I thank you for your time, and I look forward to everything to come. Happy birthday, Skylar.
Yes. To
Enjoy.
everyone that because I know I see some final messages. Oh my God, we had a whole mandatory class that was teaching adults that being naked around your kids is child abuse. Yes, yeah, my dad and these generations above, they're like, oh my God, so we're
Hmm.
gonna change the narrative just
Well,
by
we are
being,
abusing our children here because
yeah.
I'm sure
The way,
Cassie's naked a few times a day.
oh yeah. And the way that we raise our children is going to change the course of everything. So the choices that you make for yourself have an impact on the future. So we're gonna break up
Yeah.
out of that, and I hope to see or I look forward to see the things that we all do in our lives. So
Yes.
anyone that catches the playback, anyone that was here and wait, and watch till the end, I am grateful for you. This has been the Rose Golden Hour. I will see y'all next week, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central. So thank you. See y'all later.
Thank you. Bye.
Peace.